everyone, welcome back to Barnstable This Morning. I'm Sarah Colvin, and joining me live in studio, Town Manager Tom Lynch. Tom, good morning.
Good morning. Did you have a nice weekend?
I did have a nice weekend. Went by way too fast.
Well, and every time the Patriots win, it always gives you a good feeling
Yes.
starting into the week. So
We like that. Let's continue on with
right.
Patriots winning. We
That's
like
right.
that a lot. A lot of topics to cover today. Tom, wanted to start by talking about the day center. Of course, the NOAA shelter was opened 24 hours in the springtime, and it has been really successful in helping those people who utilize the service over the summer. And I understand there was a meeting for updates on the day center last week.
Yes, last week we had about 35, 40 people get together, everyone from Department of Public Health to neighborhood groups to all human services providers and police station, police folks, and it was a chance to get an update on where we were and look to how we're going to move forward. So Elizabeth Worthbane started off. She talked about, you know, the persistence that has been there and the steering committee that's worked, and it was really the steering committee that made a presentation. Deb Crowell from the Greater Hyannis Civic Association talked about the involvement of the business community and certain steps that they had taken to work with the state to bring additional funding down. Rick Presby talked about the use of the NOAA shelter as a 24-hour shelter. There were some statistics given. The Barnstable Police Department was kind of a shining star because in conjunction with the Community Impact Unit and the 24-hour shelter being open, there was a different feeling on Main Street, and I think people could feel it. And then, of course, Duffy spoke as well, and to talk about the different services to offer. And I think that everyone realizes that the camps, you know, the being homeless is something that we all want to remediate and get people back into society in a way that they're being productive and they're safe. So this 24-hour effort, I think, is really going to lead to that. There were 5 town councilors there. I thought it was very nice to see that sort of awareness and interest in the problem, and there were an awful lot of good suggestions offered. I had a chance to speak afterwards to the head of the Department of Mental Health for down here. And we had talked to the Community Impact Unit earlier about how could we, you know, shore them up to give them additional resources. And they said, really, if we had a clinician with us a half a day a week, when we're dealing with these individuals and the difficulties they're encountering, if we could have someone there to get them right into services or to get a sense of where they might want to go. So he was very, I mentioned that to him, Steve Jochum, and he was very responsive to that, and I think we're going to continue those discussions, and hopefully that'll be another phase or facet of the Community Impact Unit to help those individuals that are still on the streets.
Absolutely, and especially now as we get into the colder weather, I think the need for that day center, certainly becoming more important.
Yes.
To save those lives. Let's move on and talk a little bit about Narcan. As we heard in our newscast, we received a grant on Friday for police officers to be able to carry Narcan in their vehicles.
Well, and it was nice that the governor's office called to let us know the governor was making that announcement. $32,400. Ann Spillane over at the police department had written that grant. We were one of several cities and towns to receive that money. There will be kits that are given out. There's an auto injection system that I was told is going to be provided by, I believe, a company called Avisio, and they're partnering with the state on this effort. We're not required at the end of, we get about an 8-month supply of those auto injectors, and we're not required to continue to use those, but I think it's a company that's trying to say, we'll give you some resources, maybe perhaps you'll use those if you like that device in the future. But Ann told me that the most important part of this is getting training for the 115 officers that are sworn officers that might come in contact with this, so that we can help reverse an overdose if we come across it. And there's a lot that you've seen in the news that people are really trying to work on this opiate crisis that we have. I think the fact that Cheryl Bartlett, the former director of the Department of Public Health, is going to go over to the hospital and be in charge of their program. It's going to be a real strong community resource that we'll have on the Cape, that hopefully we can get to the root of this problem and not just be, we clearly want to save lives when you encounter that situation, but prevention is going to be the key to all of this.
Absolutely, absolutely. Switch gears a little bit. I know, again, something we touched on the news was the fee hearing that was held last week.
Yes, I conducted the fee hearing along with the Director of Finance, Mark Milne, and we listened to each of the departments that were proposing any fee or changes, and there were some on Sandy Neck for the sandwich residents and the non-residents. There was also one individual testified who was looking for greater equity between the day trippers and the off-road vehicle folks that stay overnight. So she made some very cogent points, and I'll take those under advisement as we look at whether to approve these fees or not. I thought one fee that was proposed was a $75 dune tour fee, and the director out there, Nina Coleman, is looking to perhaps do some sort of tour where we can control, what sites we might be able to bring people out to. Snowy owls were a big hit, and there's all kinds of ecological sights and sounds to see. So she's put that in there as a placeholder to try to see if that's something that the Sandy Neck staff could provide. So I think that'll be interesting. And then I wanted to point out that on the transfer station fees, we've talked for a long time that, with the subsidy that we've been getting under the old contract, which had us paying a very, very low per tonnage fee, and that was going to dramatically increase now that we've signed the new contract, even though we feel it's very favorable and it's a good contract for the town. The fee will be going on January 1st up to from $160 to $210. That's $210 for 18 months. So essentially we're able to hold the fee at $160 for the first 6 months, 12 months, and then for the next 6 months it'll be a $50 fee. So for 18 months is actually going to be a little savings there. In order to soften the overall impact as we move forward here, that we use some of the reserves that the solid waste division has built up to try to soften that blow. And then in June or July of 2016 is the next time someone would be buying a landfill sticker, and that price will be in the 210 range for a year at that point in time. So, but each year we look at expenses and revenues and see what we can balance and keep the fees into as close to the cost of service as we can.
Absolutely, so. Always good to know. Wanted to ask about of course, last week we talked about the devastating fire at Cromwell Court, the affordable housing complex here in Hyannis. Do we have an update on how things are going for those?
We have a very good provider at that site. The Preservation of Affordable Housing, or POA, took that over a few years ago. They've done a lot of upgrades. They're very cooperative with agencies throughout the town. They had 10 individuals that were displaced because of the fire. There were actually 3 buildings impact overall. 2 of the buildings got back on just a couple of days later, so they were in temporary housing for a short period of time. 5 of the 10 families are going to be housed within the Cromwell Court complex. They have enough space to accommodate 5 families. The other 5 families are being assisted by Housing Assistance Corporation and the Barnstable Housing Authority, and they're looking for placement for them because it's going to be somewhat long-term. And they're because the 6 of the units were totally devastated, and the other 5 are also in need of repair too, so substantial repair. So it'll be several months, if not to the middle of next year before there's occupancy again. And I will say that, you know, our Lombard Trust Fund stepped to the plate and gave some emergency funding to the Red Cross to be sure that individuals who are awaiting permanent housing would still have temporary housing to be in. So,
absolutely.
and I noticed for folks who are watching us, they can probably see the raindrops falling
it
onto
is.
the camera there. So it's we're in for a rainy day today, but
Yes.
the weather is quite comfortable.
It's
so
warm. It's warm.
it's a-
That's good. We'll see if that sticks around for Thanksgiving. Of course, the big holiday. I can't believe we're in Thanksgiving week already on Thursday.
I know there'll be the big game. There'll be the pep rally that always comes down
That's right.
Main Street. So it's a good time for Barnstable and Falmouth to renew that rivalry, and hopefully everyone will have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
That's right. And the game's at home this year. Very exciting. Well, Tom, thank you so much as always for joining us,
Thank
and
you,
we'll
Sarah.
talk with you again after Thanksgiving. More to come on Barnstable this morning. Superintendent of Schools Dr. Mary Kukowski is next. We'll be back with more.